This is a series of films that tells the history of contemporary fashion photography as seen through the eyes of models. What do you think you bring to a fashion photographer?
Hopefully a lot. I really hope that, I'm able to collaborate with them and pull out all of their kind of dreams and mine to create something memorable.
Do you feel that you're educated in fashion photography, in the history of fashion photography? Do you understand who Monkasky was, or Norman Parkinson, or these?
Yeah, I've shot with Norman Parkinson.
Did you?
Yeah, he used to shoot my grandma, bizarrely, because she was the cigarette model.
Yeah.
She was a very beautiful woman. She did a lot of modeling in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And then when I was probably 8, I shot a Tiffany Jewels campaign with Norman Parkinson.
Wow.
And it was
one
very
to go onto
sweet.
Google for then, Liberty.
Yeah. It's a sweet image.
And do you understand technically, I'm really not trying to put this in a way that suggests you don't, but do you understand technically what the photographer's doing? Do you understand when they change from one lens to another? How versed are you in the sort of
more and more I've
photography?
learned that. But every photographer is so different as well.
Yeah.
Working with you was just extraordinary, on those huge Polaroids and all of that stuff. And then the more recent things we've done on the iPhone, it's mind-blowing to me. It really is.
Let's move on to another picture.
Ozzy.
Could you tell me what was going on here, young lady?
This as well, I remember like yesterday. I just remember everything about this shoot. I remember going with my mum and just being so confused. I was like, what is happening now? I still have this outfit.
Really?
Yeah. So I was Ozzy's bride. I didn't really know much about Ozzy, apart from he was a rock star. And I was probably 7 or 8 years old here. They said, sit on this plinth, you're Ozzy's bride.
Right.
So I was like, okay, cool. What do you want me to do? And his hand he kind of came in, after us girls were in situ. He was just really shaking, and I was so confused why he was really shaking. And they said, put your hand on top of Ozzy's hand.
Yeah.
And he was very sort of sweaty and shaky. And then they brought out these gigantic black sacks. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening next? And then they had these enormous pythons that they brought out. And there were other pictures where we were holding these snakes and they were all crawling around. And so it was memorable.
And how were you with the bag snakes?
I was actually mesmerized by them. I thought they were incredible. I'd never seen anything like it. I didn't know they arrived in bags. I was like,
well, that's how you get snakes. Snakes. Was Ozzy chatty, talkative? Was he?
No, he was very quiet.
Yeah.
And he was only I think he was only present for a short while, and we got the shot and it was easily done.
Do you remember the photographer?
I remember his wife. I think the photographer was Bob Carlos Clarke.
Was it?
And he shot my very first fashion story for ID, which was just before this picture.
Bob Carlos Clarke very tragically committed suicide.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Have you come across much of that degree of mental illness or mental trauma, perhaps we should say, rather, mental illness? Do you feel that's something in the creative industry that is present?
I think very much so. I think.
More than in the rest of the world, more than in counting and.
I don't know, because I've only ever operated in a sort of more creative world. Everyone around me are creatives. No one in my family is a lawyer or a doctor, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I know that, maybe not to that extreme, but there's definitely a lot of addiction and I think it's all really because to have this brain that's so intensely creative and explorative can be really challenging to live with.
And do you think that creative people are drawn to it because of the freedom to express themselves?
I would say so.
You started at the age of 6 or 7?
Not really. It seems that way, which really makes me cringe because I'm really not that person. And weirdly, I'm really shy, so I don't know why I ended up doing this job or how. But it was just always kind of part of who I am, weirdly, you know. This was just kind of, a friend of my mum's had like a little kiddie agency, and occasionally I would, you know, she would ask me to do some of these things. I only did Ozzy, ID, and Tiffany Jewels, I think, were pretty much all that I did.
It's not bad. There's a kind of range of
it's
different,
great, yeah.
different areas to work in. Would you see yourself as a career model? Do you see that as your career? Or is it something you do almost because you find it exciting, but it's not what you feel?
You know, I'm really asking myself this, you know, now especially, but I don't know. I feel that I love to live life, and my mother always told me, make the most of all your opportunities.
Yeah.
And I've been so grateful and just, I've had incredible opportunities that have really just come to me, to work with some extraordinary people, and it's been amazing, and I always try to give my best back. I've had a really great career. I couldn't ask for anything more. I'm so proud of it all. But you know, now I love my job, and I love doing bits of acting, and now I'm actually going into producing. I get the same excitement from just telling a story, even if I'm in it or not. If it's something I want to express, it's just exciting to me. So I have the story that I want to express, and so hopefully that's going to happen in the next few years. But you know, life's always evolving.